Have you had it from
football podcast in all of the world? We are the Group of Five guys. We are the voice of the we are the voice of the Group of Five football programs that the mainstream sports media simply will not do. Sorry, normally Sprouse, our main host, is doing this. First time hosting the show. So we're going to have a great time. This is Group of Five Live. We are here live at MTSU Fall Camp. Got a ton of guests. Got a full slate on the day going. We're going to talk MTSU football schedule. We're going to talk players, positions. We'll have head coach Derek Mason on. We'll have Chris Massaro, the athletic director, on. And we will have players as well. But first and foremost, this episode is sponsored by the Boulevard Bar and Grill here in Murfreesboro. Look, if it's pregame, postgame, and you're looking for a good meal, a good bite, you got to go over to the Boulevard Bar and Grill. They got great burgers, great pizza, wings, apps, cocktails, cold beer, anything you need. The Boulevard's got it, and they are sponsoring this show today, so we appreciate them. And hey, if you're a Liberty fan traveling in this year, or any of the away teams, you got to go over and check out the Boulevard Bar and Grill over on Middle Tennessee Boulevard. Normally we do this show with my two best buds, Matt Sprouse and Tyler Tipton. Fortunately, they are working today. So it is me and one of my other best buddies, Josh Murphy. He's here. He's the host of Raiders Fan Radio. Murph, thanks for hanging out, talking some football today.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. This is fun, man. Normally, all we do is talk about the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, but being out here talking about the MTSU Blue Raiders, Burrow built, middle made, let's go, bro. This is gonna be fun.
Absolutely. It's gonna be a great time. We got a host of guests coming on, like I said. It is football time. College football is here. You can smell it in the air, Murph. It's here. It's August. It's warm. It's heating up today.
I know I'm like the side of my head over here is on fire already. It's, beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a great time. And let's just get right into it. MTSU this year, new era, head coach Derek Mason. He's got a whole new staff. We got a host of new players, possibly an entire new roster here at MTSU. There's been a couple leftovers from the stock era, but we'll just get right into the schedule. Middle Tennessee this year opens up with Tennessee Tech at home. They go on the road at Ole Miss. Then we get 100 Miles of Hate here in Murfreesboro. And then we get Duke coming in, the first ACC team coming in a while. Then we go on the road at Memphis. Back on the road again at Louisiana Tech. Kennesaw State, the new team in Conference USA this year, comes to Johnny Red. On the road at Jacksonville State, headed to El Paso, playing the Miners. Liberty at home, New Mexico State at home, and then FIU on the road to finish the season. And let me just say, per usual at MTSU, the first 5 games is just an absolute gauntlet of a track. Tennessee Tech at home, that should be a good game. Get everybody warmed up. Then you immediately go on the road at Ole Miss. You go on the road, and say what you want, but Ole Miss is one of the top programs in the country. That's going to be a physical game. And then we get Western Kentucky at home, Duke at home, and then Memphis on the road as well. And Memphis is going to be one of the top Group of 5 programs in the country, playing for that playoff spot. Murph, that's a tough slate of games to start the season.
It sure is. And, and I look at that game at Ole Miss, man. You got Lane Kiffin over there. When you play at this school, I know you guys don't talk about your playing careers a lot, but, you guys had a lot of experience with this school and on these big fields and in those big stadiums. What is it like for you? I know you played at Tennessee, right?
Yeah. Game there. Tennessee, Mississippi State.
So what is that like for you? What kind of mentality do these guys need to take in going into a hostile environment like that? You got huge crowds. Like, what is that like? Like, what's the kind of mentality to remain competitive in a game like that?
Well, I mean, you get fired up for those games. I mean, you want to go into a hostile environment. That's what you play college football for. You want to play in front of sold out stadiums, 50, 60, 70,000, whatever it is. So they're going to have to be ready right off the bat of the season. And, whenever you play an SEC team or a Big Ten team, like, say what you want, we're the Group of 5 guys. We're always going to, ride for the Group of 5, but that is a physical task. You're always going to be a little bit beat up coming out of that. And that's probably my biggest concern. Yes, we can compete. Anything can happen on any given Saturday, but how are you gonna be coming out of that game? To me, that's the biggest question. Because then you open up conference the next week with Western Kentucky, who, all things, to be real, they're probably the second best team in the conference. So it's a tough slate to start off the stretch. And then we'll dive back into the schedule here in a minute, but getting ready to have new head coach Derek Mason coming on.
What's up, fellas? What's going on, Coach?
Coach, how you doing?
How y'all living, man?
Living great.
Good to see you.
Great.
Yeah. See you again. Good. Yeah.
Hold that or clip it, either one, whatever works for you.
We're good.
Coach?
Yeah, talk to me.
First camp, Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
How's it feeling so far?
You know what? It's been outstanding. Our guys have come out here with 59 new guys, and it's felt like a real camp, right? I think we got to the business at hand of trying to set culture coming off the summer, and now, it's about attrition, right?
Yeah.
Camp is always the battle of attrition. It's the idea of, like, how do we get from day to day, limit the injuries, still be able to get the reps and make sure that, like, this football team continues to grab what's available for it to get better.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned, building that culture, building that identity. What do you want to see out of this team during camp? You're going to see guys make plays, you're going to get better, do all that, but what's the identity you want of your team?
Well, we want to be physical tough and play a different style of football. Now, mistakes happen in the game of football, but we want to be intelligent about how we play, right? Intelligent in situational football, intelligent like with penalties, intelligent about how we look to attack teams, starting with special teams. I think Luke Pascal is probably one of the most key additions, like for us. Everybody talks about offense and defense, but special teams is where games are won and lost. It's the hidden yardage in special teams, right? And so to have had a summer where you've had, 75% participation from this football team, and that's what they talked about. They wanted high participation in special teams because I've told these guys going into this deal that it was going to be about, starters on special teams. Okay, I mean, if you want to start on offense or defense as a skill player, you got to start on special teams. So, like, that set the tone for what this team needed to be, right? Because if you don't make mistakes on special teams and you can be physical, you can be tough, but also you can take advantage of the situations that come up, it leads to good offense and good defense in terms of starting point. You got some playmakers on this team on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah. Of course, but it alwa's got to start up front. We got to protect up front. How you feeling about that position group going in? You know what? I think it's an athletic group that's long. It's got pieces, moving pieces right now, just working to get guys back. Ethan Ellis just got back, into us. Man, you look at Jalen, like at tackle, he's working through an injury. Man, you look at a couple of guys, here, Ethan Ellis is coming back. Or not Ethan Ellis, Ellis Adams. Man, I got so many Ellises.
There's a lot of Ellises.
Ellis Adams, is a guy that didn't get a chance, man, to get through spring, but now, he's going every other practice until we work him back into everyday practice. So I think the depth of this group and athleticism of the group is huge. But at the end of the day, you're only as good as your availability, right? So that's where we sit. So right now, we've got a mixed bag of roster of guys, veterans for the most part, a couple of young guys mixed in there, led by Mateo. You look at where he is, Julius Pierce, where he's at up front. You see what's happening with Simon, Marcus Miller, the transfer from UNLV. We got talent. It's just about mixing and matching and seeing where guys can play multiple spots. Because in a season, you're going to have some injuries. Absolutely.
Yeah. In years past, the D-line has been really one of the bright spots in getting pressure on the quarterback. Basically got a whole new group this year, minus, a couple guys that had some time last year. Who are a couple names, on that D-line we should look out for, and how do you feel about that group overall?
Yeah, I think this group has had to wait its turn. Sometimes in college football, when you sit behind guys, DeMonte, sat behind some really good players, right? That happen to be at Power 4 schools right now. But this is his time. He's worked extremely hard to be an every down player. At first, I thought he was just going to be a first or second down player, but he's more than that now. He's turned into a run stopper and an elite pass rusher from the inside. And anytime you can get that, a guy that can play nose, 3 technique, 4-eye, you got a special player. But around him, I think, guys like Shakai Woods, okay, Bynum. You start to hear these names and you start to understand, okay,
I think these guys are going to have an opportunity to impact the program. Felix Hickson, transferred from South Carolina. Okay, we just look through the junior college ranks, we got much better with depth. I'm waiting to see how Mayhew and those guys come along, but guys like Annie Nwoko, Buckner, okay, Stu on the outside, these dudes can rush the passer, right? And we have a new addition coming in, and he just got cleared yesterday. Alex Williams, the 6'7", 295-pound defensive end, you know, from Vandy, right? And he just got his 7th-year waiver. So I think this group, and I haven't even talked about the young guys yet, but I think this group is going to have a chance to make some noise, okay, in Conference USA early.
I love it. I love it. Well, we see the construction in the background, the new facilities being built. Just talk about, especially to the Blue Raider fans, how important of an addition that is in building long-term success in a program, getting these recruits in there.
Well, this was a part of what, you know, Coach Stock, you know, like spent the greater part of his career moving towards, right? Yeah. He moved us towards, you know, like where we sit, you know, almost 9 months from now, which is moving into a new facility, and like kudos, right? Because the work of him, Dr. McPhee, Chris Massaro, that's all outstanding. But what I've told our guys is that we're under construction. Football team, we're under construction. Okay, man, facility, we're under construction, and that's going to come when it comes. That's going to change the game. It changes the way that we take care of our student athletes. It changes the way we eat. It changes the way we function. We recover. That's great, but that's not going to help my seniors.
Right,
okay?
right.
I gotta keep the main thing. And right now, you know, like these guys step inside a facility every day that they clean. Okay, man, it's blue collar all the way now. Okay, but you come in at 10:30 and you see guys vacuuming. Right? I mean, you see guys picking up, right? Because I want these seniors to feel like they laid a foundation that'll last for a long time. So when they go into a new building, they'll take care of this new building like we took care of the old building, right? And that matters to me because when you do that, okay, man, you pass along culture, you pass along legacy, and these things still matter in the game of football.
I love it.
Talk a little bit about that, Coach. Talk about building a culture, because like one of my favorite sayings is that culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? You can come in with the best plan in the world, right? But if you don't have the buy-in from your group, then it's hard to execute on game day and otherwise. Talk about that, about building the culture and changing that, because that's an amazing metaphor you just described there.
Yeah, well, like college football's changed, right? With this deal of what happens in NIL, what happens in the transfer portal. It used to be, man, like a good ice cream sandwich, man. You had layers to it, right? You know, now in college football, the ice cream is missing. The middle of the cookie is missing, right? Now, man, all you got is the flat part, man, on the bottom, flat part on top, because you got old and young guys. The middle part of your program is missing because those guys, whether they're happy or not, have decided to move on or figure out how to, you know, look at someplace else. So culture is more important today than it's ever been. Okay. You used to bring in outside folks, military folks, man, to sort of like get you going and understand team building. The biggest team building that you can do now is not from somebody coming outside in. That's important, but we've established culture groups in our program. Guys can't be in the same position group, okay, man, or with your position coach. So we have 30 staff members. We've got a champion, which is a mentor, okay, and 4 siblings, which are 4 players from totally different position groups, because everybody knows their position group, but you don't know anybody outside your position group. In the game of football today, if that's all you do, you're going to lose your freshmen, because when they're not playing, when they haven't been found themselves yet, you know, all those other things, homesickness, girlfriend, all these things kick in. We've been in that locker room, so we know what it is. So the thing that we've had to do is understand that within our culture groups, our veteran players have a chance to become older siblings. It used to be the big brother, right? That's what you used to do back in the day. But now we've made it more about like us understanding us. And if you do that with 59 new players and we understand the history, the hero, the heartache, that's where the culture is. I mean, understanding who you're playing next to, so that, you know, when that guy's down, you can pick him up. When that guy's having success, man, we continue to lift him up, man, and say, listen, I'm rocking with my brother, because that's what this game is. It's my team.
Coach, we'll get you out of here. Toughest question of the day. I know you're a big vinyl record guy.
Come on, Murph, give it to me.
What are you spinning during camp? What's the vibe feeling like?
You know what? I mean, right now, man, I'm listening to Conway the Machine. You know, man, for Buffalo, New York. I think Conway is different. I know everybody's talking about the Kendrick Drake beef, right? I'm into Conway, man. He's grinding on folks right now, and camp is a grind, right?
Yeah.
So like, I need to. He says everybody is food. Right, so I'm trying to eat right now. Everybody is food. I'm just trying to make sure, man, we can provide some food for this program. You know, man, food for our players, and make sure that we can get from day 1 to day 26.
I love it, Coach. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Hey,
Thank you
thanks,
so
Murph.
much.
My man, good to see you.
See you.
God
Appreciate
bless.
it.
There you have it, head coach Derek Mason stopping, and man, just talking about that culture. I mean, I think that's
Cool, right?
it's huge, and it just gets you fired up, you know, about what they're trying to build here with not only that and the facilities and just everything in between, because that's what you need to have a top program in college football.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the metaphor. I love what he brought up. The team's under construction, the facilities are under construction, and I gotta get this is awesome out here. I mean, I know it's a lot different than what it was like for you when you were playing, and just seeing this all start to come together. As he mentioned, he gave credit to Stockstill for kind of starting that, laying that foundation. But now Coach Mason's coming in, and he's finishing it off, man. He's doing a heck of a job here early on, and love to see the attitude and the energy from not only from the team, but I love it how he also brought up from the staff too, because that was a really interesting point I hadn't really thought about. Is that, you know, with the transfer portal, that's that core groups that you may have moving through, you know, like you don't get that anymore, right? And so it's a really interesting concept to build the culture. You got to build it within the organization, really with your staff, and first and foremost, almost even more so than your players at times, because of the movement that can occur, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a different game than it was, I mean, 5-6 years ago. You know, once NIL came in, then you had the transfer portal on top of it. It's just completely changed the game, and that's really what you have to do nowadays, is build that culture, get guys invested where they truly care about not only the coach, but the program, and they want to stay. You know, we talked to offensive coordinator at Colorado State a couple weeks ago, Matt Mumme, has 2 of the top prospects in the country for the Rams in their quarterback and their wide receiver, Torrey Horton, and they got offered hundreds of thousands of NIL dollars to go to somewhere else, but they stayed because they love where they're at. They love their coaches. They understand their relationship. And that's what I think Mason's trying to do here, and excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, that's really cool. Look, and just the amount of experience that he brings in, brings here to middle. I mean, the guy's been, he's coached in so many prominent programs around the country. He's been at Stanford, been at Vandy. Last time that you all talked to him, he talked a lot about his coaching influences. And when you look at the folks that Coach Mason's coached with, I mean, very prominent head coaches around the league with Harbaugh, and I mean, all kinds of amazing influences on his coaching career. And I can't wait to see what he's going to do here at middle.
Yeah, he's done a great job, I think, with his staff and getting a mix of veteran coaches that have been a lot of different places, and then having some younger guys that are up and coming, but I mean, savants like offensive coordinator Bodie Reeder. You talk to this guy, I mean, he's like a mad scientist. You know what I mean? Like, and I love it as a quarterback, like just diving in deep in the weeds. And when he's talking about affecting defensive players' eyes and this and motions and shifts, like I love all that. So it's gonna be awesome to see get them out on the field and really see what they can do this year.
Absolutely.
So we'll dive back into the schedule here, and the main point I wanted to bring up, especially in that first 5-game stretch, Murph, is being a former player here, understanding the landscape of Murfreesboro, the fan base, where the program's at now. Guys, please understand that we have a lot of hype right now, a lot of excitement in the community. That first 5-game stretch is unbelievably difficult. And I'm not trying to make excuses, preemptively make excuses or anything. I'm just calling it like I see it. You play Ole Miss on the road, physical game, come home against Western Kentucky, who's probably second best team in Conference USA. Got TJ Finley, their quarterback, transferring in from Texas State, who was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And then you got Duke at home, who's another Power 4 program. And then you get Memphis on the road. So we come out of that stretch with 2 wins. I'm going to be very happy about that when we get into the back half where it opens up. So be interested to see that. Coach, how you doing?
Great. You?
Absolutely.
All right, Coach.
Doing
Good to
great.
meet you.
Just hold that. You can flip it either way. But our next coach coming on is Special Teams Coordinator Luke Pascal, former Blue Raider.
Yes, sir.
Welcome on to the Group of Five Guys podcast, man. Appreciate you having us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. How's so give us a overview. How's camp going so far in the special teams room?
It's fall camp. Guys get tired, and it is what it is. But throughout the spring, throughout the summer, we've had a lot of progress. We had a lot of things that we did that put us in a position to move along a little bit faster. Changing a culture on special teams can be difficult, but if the kids are bought in, the coaches are bought in, it moves the way you want it to move in that direction. I'm glad we don't play on Saturday, but we're moving in the right direction. The kids are working hard, and that's all you can ask right now.
Special teams, a lot of times people talk so much about offense and defense, but special teams is a lot of the times where you win and lose ball games. So just talk a little bit about your philosophy as special teams coordinator, and what's your main goal and what do you want to accomplish?
We want to be sound. We want to be fundamentally sound. That's what we're always going to preach. We keep things very simple, but we're always going to be aggressive. We're always going to be looking for the fake punt that we can do. We're always going to carry 1 to 2 in every single game. Surprise onside kicks if given. So we're going to be aggressive but calculated. But in the end, the games are won and lost, like in the fundamentals and the things that actually matter, and that's effort, attitude, toughness, consistency. Sacrifice is a big thing we talk about all the time, being able to sacrifice for your teammates when it may not benefit you. Like I said, we're going to keep things very simple for the guys so they can go out there and play and turn it loose, but we're going to also be very aggressive.
We were talking to Coach. He mentioned specifically prioritizing special teams this year, and almost making it a requirement for players that want to get on the field. They got to play teams. How does that impact your ability with in coaching that?
Yeah, it always starts with the head coach. When special teams is important to the head coach, it always just cascades down to everybody else. And it makes it. He made it known in the first meeting in the spring when we started talking special teams that if you're not a starter on one of the big four, you can't start on offense or defense. And that helps because usually you're going to get about, anywhere from 4 to 5 guys that are going to start on all 4 units. So you start getting down in numbers really quick in terms of the spots available because those 4 guys are going to take 16 spots on those units. And you start running out of spots real quick. It makes competition in practice. And they're going to see after today that the depth chart's going to change. Guys are going to move up, guys are going to move down. And if you're not doing the things required that are being asked of us and having some self-accountability to get the job done, then we're going to go with the guys we trust. That's the very first thing we talk about. We're not interested in having the best player on the field. It's the guys that you can trust. When you turn your back, they're going to do it the right way.
I like it. Zeke Rankin's back for his final run. Talk a little bit about him just, as a player. I mean, he was 16 or 19 last year, but him as a player and just as a leader.
One, he like you said, it helps when you have an older guy at any position, but especially in that room that understands like the work that's required to be good on game day. I mean, it takes a certain level of preparation. Some places they don't hold their specialists to a high sense of urgency, and they don't really hold them accountable. They're just a specialist. But everywhere I've been, we've had an opportunity to hold those guys to a high standard, and it makes the work better. And Zeke, it does an unbelievable job. You really don't have to tell him that. He knows how to work. He knows how to prepare. He knows how to be critical of himself when he doesn't. He falls short on some things. But he's a good sounding board like for that room, for me, especially guys that haven't played in games. And he knows who he needs to be on that day for that guy. If he needs to get after somebody because they're not working hard, he can do that. He can also put his arm around you. He's like having a second coach out there, and that's beneficial. And he's a solid player. He's a really good player that's played a lot of ball. I mean, there's no substitute for game reps, and he's played a bunch of ball, and he knows what it takes, and nothing really phases him. But he's got some competition right now. I think it's the first time that maybe since he's been here that he's had some guys that show the proficiency to be able to get the job done as well. And nothing can make you, if you're a competitor, nothing makes you better than competition. You're always trying to get a little bit better, and you've got to show up every single day.
What does it mean to you being here in the shadow of the construction of the new facility, the culture that Coach Mason's bringing, is instilling here in the program? For somebody that came from here, what does that mean to you to kind of see this transformation, physically and even just in the locker room and around the organization as a whole?
It's neat. It's neat because when I came back in January, I mean they had broke ground, but nothing was up yet, and they've done an amazing job to this point since I think the first beam went up in March. But it's really, I'd say, inspiring, having played here a long time ago and coming back. And I don't want to say nothing changed, but like a lot didn't change. And now you're starting to see some things go up around here that maybe a little bit overdue and catching up with times a little bit. And that's a testament to our athletic director and everybody that's donated money to get this accomplished, because this place has potential. And I've said this for a long time, that this place has potential to be a sleeping giant. It really does, in terms of location, in terms of new facilities and things like that. And when you're in this area, you're able to get to a lot of spots to get recruits. And in the way of the transfer portal as well, like, you got a chance to turn this thing around really quick and do something really special here. But it's going to take everybody, not just players and coaches, but fan base, anybody and everybody. It takes a full effort to get something the way you want it to look.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we know you're busy. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.
We'll have you again soon.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
That was Special Teams Coordinator Luke Pascal, and I love how he talks about it takes everyone. It takes the community, you know, because everywhere we go, whether it's Boone, whether it's San Antonio, whether it's Tulane, where we traveled over the last 4 years, it's everybody involved, from the staff to the coaches to the university to the fans to the city. Like, everyone's got to be bought in. And the ones that do it all do a great job, and their programs are where they at for a reason. And the ones that are missing certain pieces, you know, that's why they're kind of lacking behind. So, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, Chris, how are you? Good to see you.
Doing all right? Good to see you guys, man.
Hold that or clip it either way. No, I don't know.
Okay.
Hey, these are Luke's.
Hey, listen in on them, too.
No. Mason. And joining us now is Athletic Director Chris Massaro. Chris, thanks for coming on. And how's the vibe? How's the feel right now? Fall camp's here, and we're getting kicked off.
Man, it's great to have a couple of alums here, and thanks for coming out today. Vibe's great. I mean, it's great to hear the sounds and the whistles and the pads, and then also the backdrop of the construction trucks and, you know, and the grinding and the pounding of the metal, all those kind of things. So, man, I couldn't be happier. This sure beats being in the office all day long.
Absolutely. We'll talk about the facility a little bit. You know, where are we at with it, and looking finish dates. All I know those are always fluctuate, but where are we at kind of with that project?
You know, and once it came out of the ground, we've seen remarkable progress. And right now, knock on wood, if it stays to schedule, we'll be occupying it this time next year. So we're supposed to cut the ribbon kind of towards the end of July of next year. And so that's going to be a really special day for us. We might be the only FBS program that still dresses in the basketball arena, you know, and that gets used against us recruiting. And so this will give us more of a fair fight. So by having a locker room and over here in our offices modernized and all of that stuff, that we'll have meeting rooms for all our position groups, so we won't have to divide the defensive room and, you know, at the temporary walls, and we'll have a team auditorium. You guys sat through the old game day room, and, you know, and so it's just going to add an element of class to our program that we haven't had. And so I think that's a really critical element for us. So 86,000 square feet is going to help all of our sports, the weight rooms for all of our sports, the training room with all the hydro tubs and all those kind of things. Rehab equipment will be for all of our student athletes. The nutrition center will be for all of our student athletes. So there's going to be a lot in there for everyone to get better. And Derek said that we want to be a program that develops players. And so we have to have a facility that helps develop them, you know, and so this will fit that need.
Absolutely. And it's had such an impact on the community too, just the pride, you know, as far as, you know, being a resident. I've been here in Middle Tennessee for 26 years now, you know, and seeing this program and it go through, you know, different variations and evolutions. And I think this is one of the bigger ones that's happened here in Murfreesboro, you know, in that time.
You know, and it's just a visible statement that football is important, you know, and I think people were wanting to see that, you know, and administratively, we always felt like, well, it is important, but we didn't have that visible sign, you know, and it took us a while to get this thing financed and kind of off the ground and those kind of things. But so it's been really good to finally see it kind of come to fruition, and the future is really bright, and how that helps propel us. And I like being out here on the practice field, so I see it from a different angle, and walking all around and being inside the stadium and looking back at it, you go, that's a mammoth building. Being over here at the practice facility, you go, that's a huge building. Over, and you see the sights from the Murphy Center side, and you go, man, that thing's really big. And so it's just really good. We're sitting here looking at the east side and late in the project, and by benefit of all the computer graphics and those kind of things, that we decided to put a backlit MT logo that'll shine towards campus. And man, when as soon as it went on the little diagram, it's like, oh, we got to have that. And so just little touches like that's going to signify what football means, what athletics means, and then give the tools inside to really develop guys to become better football players and better athletes for everyone.
Yeah, I like it. And talk about, the community a little bit. It's been everywhere we go, the programs that are at the top of the group of five and in the top of the country, they have a complete buy-in from the administration to the university, to the community, to the city. Are you guys doing anything different to try and engage not only, the community, but the city of Murfreesboro and just everybody that lives in this Middle Tennessee area?
I hope you've seen some results. That was a big deal to us when we were hiring a new football coach, and really had the mindset like women's basketball probably does the best job of anybody inside our department of making sure that this is our team. Like Coach Insel, those are our girls out there. That's the community's team. How are we doing? And when people would reference football, it's like, well, are they going to go to a bowl game this year? Or what bowl game is it going to be? What are they doing? It wasn't a we. So we've got to change that mindset of they versus we with our alums. And we're not there yet. This isn't going to be something that's going to be solved overnight. But Derek Mason's done a fantastic job of getting out, shaking every hand he can shake, having the players be out with community service and those kind of things, to be engaged in the community and be visible in the community, that we're a part of you and you're a part of us. And so that's how that's got to connect. And he's done a really good job of that. And so I want us to, when we have our opener, who do we play? Well, we play Tennessee Tech. It's like, oh, Middleton versus Tech. Oh, that's an old rivalry. Yeah. We play, and so that's the mindset we need to have. And I'd be willing to bet those group of five places you visited, like at App State, it's we, and so that's how we need to do it. So we all have responsibilities there. I've got a big responsibility to help forge that, but fans and alums also have. Let's get active. Let's be true blue inside the stadium and not just kind of following us, through the results. Let's get out there and come to the stadium and really get behind these guys.
Yeah, we say it all the time. The best thing you can do is go to the games. Yeah. Go to the games and support. Don't just, say you're a Blue Raider fan, but then go to the bar and wear burnt orange and watch that team. So we want to eliminate that as much as we can and just be there on Saturday or on Tuesday nights when we have the midweek games.
Yeah, be there and cheer and those kind of things. I just think that's so important. And we've got 50-some newcomers, players that have never experienced a game inside Floyd Stadium. We've got a coaching staff that's not coached inside there. So let's come out August 31st against our old rival, Tennessee Tech, and let's get behind these guys. Let's tell this coaching staff thank you for being so effortful in the community and those kind of things. And I guarantee you're going to see a team that's going to play hard. You're going to see a team that's going to fight like the Dickens to win the game. You'll be entertained, so come watch us play.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, we appreciate the time. Looking forward.
Guys.
to this football season.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
We're excited for it.
It'll be
here.
great.
We'll be here supporting.
It'll
Absolutely.
be great. And we're excited. We've got a new scoreboard going in, so fans, a new audio system with it. So I think our game day experience is going to be a lot better.
Awesome.
We've got things in the Grove with Coach Mason and Party in the Grove, where we're going to have live concerts and those kind of things at tailgates. So it's going to be it's a whole new atmosphere. So come out and experience it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thank you
See ya.
again, Chris. Take care.
Well, there you got Athletic Director Chris Massaro, and I'd love to hear that we're going to do some concert series,
Yes.
some new things for the tailgate atmosphere, because the Grove is such a cool place to go and tailgate and have a good time and pregame, but being able to do some different things, and with the amount of country music stars and hip hop artists that have come through MTSU's music program, there's no reason not to have those guys come back, or even just local artists come and put on a show and have a great time.
Absolutely. And game day experience, that's going to be fantastic. Having the new video board, new audio system, everything, that's going to be fantastic. And that's, I want to ask you something so looking at the schedule here, for the home games, the one against Kennesaw State, that's on a Tuesday, right? Tuesday at 7:00. Do you think that, because you mentioned, people putting on the orange and here in Tennessee, in order to drive engagement, to drive that game day attendance, would more of these, do you think that would be beneficial instead versus because listen, we're in middle SEC countries, know, and going, at 3:00 on a Saturday, you know what I mean? Then that's tough. You have to compete, I guess is what I'm trying to say at that point. But on a Tuesday night at 7 p.m., that's pretty, you know what I mean? I think it gives the community an opportunity to, what else you got going on a Tuesday night? Let's go out there and go see some middle football.
No, I agree, and I like it to a certain extent. There's pros and cons to everything you do, right? And the MAC did it years ago when they started doing, late in the season, they started doing Tuesday night, Wednesday night action, and it's been, you get more national televised games because you get to be on, ESPN and ESPN2 and those type of things midweek because your other schools aren't playing midweek. So it gives you that exposure, which is great. But as a parent with 3 kids, I get it's difficult. I see that side of it where Tuesday, Wednesday night, sometimes it's difficult to get your entire family out there at 7, for a 7 p.m. kick or 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. kick. Like, it's tough. And when you got kids that are playing sports, a lot of them in the fall are midweek. So I think it gives your program an opportunity to showcase on a national level. And then I do think it gives some of your fans that, maybe support another program in the state to come to a middle game during the week. So if we can just continue to I guess, promote the midweek games when we have them. It's only that 1 month in, what I believe it's October. Where we got those midweek games and go out and have a good time. I'm all for it, you know. But it's rough when you go out there and you're on ESPNU or Plus or whatever, and you got 2,000 fans in the stands. That's also not a good look either.
That's true.
So
that's true.
we Raider faithful. We got to show up for whether it's Saturday, midweek, whatever it is. We got to show up and show up for these players, man. Because as a former player, I can tell you, it means the most to them when you walk out of the tunnel and you have 4,000 or 5,000 as opposed to 15,000. That is a big difference in vibe. It swings games. You're talking defense can't make calls. You get turnovers because of it. Momentum swings. It's all real. So if you're a Middle fan and you're in question about, when am I going to go? Just go to the games. If you can, go to the games. That's the best thing you can do.
Absolutely. And on those midweek games, how is that as a player, or even from a coaching perspective, in terms of preparation? How does that? I mean, that's just got to put a complete loop, or through your entire routine for a loop, doesn't it?
It's different. It's difficult when you're talking about game planning, and you get these almost like the first one. I think you get like a week and a half, break, which you would think is like great, which it is as a player standpoint. You get some extra rest and things like that, but it throws your whole schedule off. So now you're trying to keep guys engaged, keep guys in the weight room, keep guys, on their normal schedule. So it's definitely a different animal, but with Mason being so experienced, I think they'll have a good plan in place, and it is nice as a player when you have those midweek games and now Saturday you have off. You know, it's a good little change in the middle of the season. So I think having a couple of them is good, but I wouldn't want to play the entire year that way. So I think they're doing it right, having that 1 month of midweek games, and you go back to because there's something about college football playing it on Saturdays. It's just that old school aura and vibe. There's just something about it.
Yeah. And winning will bring people, right? And like you said, that I would hate it for this program that deserves to have a lot more attention than what it does get on game days, to have it with that tough start to the schedule. I mean, that's, like you said, that's a rough first 5 games that they have. And, you know, if they're not able to put together a W or 2 in there, you know, then when you do start that home stretch, you know, because we'll be back in against Kennesaw State, man, that would suck.
Yeah, and that's where I'm just trying to get people to understand, like, just because you see a 2-3 record or even a 1-4, like in middle and years past, like the schedule's always front loaded for multiple different reasons why they do it. But we're not playing, you know, you play in Alabama, I get that. And then a lot of other group of 5 schools, they'll play, you know, like a Boston College, you know, somebody that physically is not as taxing as, you know, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Michigans of the world, where in years past, a lot of them, like last year, we played Alabama and then Missouri right after it, which Missouri, like, yeah, you didn't know what type of team they were, but they were a top 25 team, top 15, I believe, at one point. So playing those 2 teams back to back, you're just physically beat up. And then you get into conference, and by chance, the last couple of years, we've played either the number 2 or number 1 team in the conference after that stretch. So what I just try and do when I talk to people, especially in town at the shop, is like, just hang in there. Just because you might see a 2-3 record to start the first 5 games doesn't mean that, oh, here we go again. Because I hear that so much. Is fans come in the deli or fans on social media, and they're like, oh, here we go again. And it's, no, you got to understand the nuance of scheduling in college football. Like, we want to win our conference. That's the ultimate goal. But from a funding standpoint, you have to play the Georgias, the Michigans, the Missouris, Ole Miss of the world. Like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? So, you know, if you can get through that stretch relatively healthy, especially going into that Duke and Memphis game, like, I think we'll have a shot to beat Duke, realistically.
Yeah. At
home, homecoming, it'll be a good crowd. Duke's got an all-new coaching staff, and you got Manny Diaz and the former coach here coming back. So it's kind of crazy. You got a lot of former coaches coming back on our homecoming, but it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a great crowd. And you just hope that we're healthy, at least moderately, going into Duke and Memphis.
Well, and they got the right guy at the helm to do that. I mean, Coach Mason is you know, when he was at Vanderbilt, which is a lower tier SEC program, he took out some big teams. I mean, he beat Kirby Smart's Georgia team. You know what I mean? He beat UT. He had some pretty decisive victories. And so, I mean, I think they've got the right guy when you're playing these teams that are, you know, on paper or otherwise, you know, more talented or whatever. That they've got the right guy to lead them.
No, I think they do, and I think one of the biggest acquisitions of the offseason is new strength coach Jamie Blatnick. We've talked about him on this podcast for a little bit now, and the things that he's doing in the weight room, I think, are just going to be game changers as far as a health standpoint. Because we've been banged up the last couple of years at multiple different positions. So part of it too is like, and that's why I say it's like this. It's this global. It's such a bigger, like, it takes everybody on board, every coach, every staff member, every fan to contribute their part. And having Jamie on staff, I mean, you could just look at the guys. They look different. And I think in the long term, they're going to be healthier throughout the season, which we'll see. But that's my assessment. Just being able to talk to him and the things he's doing with the guys. And it's different from the way they've trained in years past. So excited about that. So once we get through that first, 5-game stretch, we get into the bulk of our conference. And that's where I think that as long as we have our key pieces, we can make a run. I really, really think that. And you go at Louisiana Tech, which that's, I see that as a win. I see Kennesaw State, a newcomer coming in. That should be a win at home. And then Jacksonville State will be your next biggest test. They're good. Rich Rod has done a good job with that program. They're able to run the ball really, really well. And then you go UTEP on the road, and then Liberty. Liberty at home is going to be a massive game because I could see us going into that point, whether we beat Jacksonville State or not, if you can beat Liberty at home, and that's a tall task.
That's a tall task.
That's a tall task. You got undefeated Liberty, Caden Salter's back, Quentin Cooley's back. But we took them down to the wire last year in Lynchburg. So if we can win that game, I'm telling you, the Blue Raiders, they'll have a chance to make it into the Conference USA Championship game. To me, that's the biggest circle on the schedule, is that Liberty game.
That's going to be huge. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
That needs to be the one that everybody shows up for.
100%.
You know, that's got to be the one.
Yeah, because they're going to be the biggest. They're going to be the biggest matchup. Obviously, you got to show up week in and week out.
Yes, of course.
But as long as we can stay healthy and we get to that point of the season, you can knock off Liberty. It's going to be wide open for Conference USA. So let's kind of transition a little bit. Let's get into the position groups. Let's talk about them. We got them? Cool. Actually, before we get into the position groups, we're going to get defensive coordinator Brian Stewart coming on. And this might be a coach that I'm more excited about than anybody. How you doing, man?
Better now.
How are you, Coach? Good to meet you.
Good.
Coach, guys, you're looking good out there. You should hold that for me, or you can clip it either way. Guys, you're looking good out there, running around, thudding up a little bit. How's camp been going so far?
Well, day 5, so we're at the point where the guys know what to do. Now we're trying to get them to know how we want them to do it. So there's a little difference. You know, it's cover 3. Cover 3 is cover 3. Quarters is quarters, but how we play it, how do we want to play the switch routes in cover 3? Same thing in cover 4. So we got to detail that. Same thing with the runs, how we want to play our 5 technique when it's down blocks and stuff. So we're just trying to get them to know how to do it the way we want them to do it, how we do it here at MTSU.
I love it. Now, defense and history, they seem to always have a bit of a swagger and an identity about them. What is the identity that you want for your defense here?
You know, I always think it starts with when you play your offense. I think when your quarterback says, I just had to get it, I knew I would have another set of downs because our defense would stop them. So then that's the first. And the second thing is this, we know nobody can run against us. The other team knows they can't run against us. And that's where we're always trying to strive to get, because you can control the game when you stop the run. You force them to pass, then now we got a chance to play covers, we got a chance to pass rush and make them make mistakes. But you got to stop the run. I think that's the main thing we want to do. We want to be a physical team that stops the run, but more importantly, stops what the other team does.
Coach, you've had a lot of success coaching in the secondary throughout your career. Middle Tennessee is becoming DBU. I mean, with the legacy of defensive backs that have come out, how do you feel about your current group going in?
I think I think they're doing a good job of studying and knowing what to do. But like I said, we still got to do it the way we want them to do it. You know, we got a lot of secondary guys back there. I'm a secondary guy. Coach Mason's a secondary guy. And then we got B. Lou. So we expect more from those guys probably than a lot of other places would because we're DB guys. And so we're all on the same page. We talk how we want that technique done, and then we want them to do the technique the way we ask them to. Don't make stuff up. Just do what we ask you to do, the way we ask you to do it. So we're work in progress, but I'm excited. I think we got some good pieces.
Now, the defensive line, and we've just been able to generate pressure the last few seasons here at Middle Tennessee, and you got a lot of new guys up front. And you got some great quarterbacks in Caden Salter, TJ Finley throughout the conference.
Yeah, keep reminding me.
What's your philosophy? I mean, are you a guy that likes to bring a lot of pressure? I know as a quarterback, dealing with pressures, that's the hardest thing that you got to deal with, right? Recognizing it, changing protections, and then sitting in there, and sometimes you're going to get drilled. What's kind of your philosophy when it comes to pressure?
I think, pressure isn't always a sack. Pressure is getting him off his point. Pressure is him making him throw before he wants to throw, all those things. So that's what we're predicated on. We're predicated on we should be able to stop the run. And then now in the passing situations, we're able to pressure the quarterback, be it with a DB, a middle backer, both outside backers. I think it's the mix. I just think they can't book us. I don't want them to say, hey, they're a good pressure team. I want them to say they're a good team that attacks the quarterback with a lot of different ways. Their 4-down guys are pretty special, and then when they bring guys from different angles and different players from linebackers or from different levels like DBs, that they do a good job.
I like it. Last couple of questions.
Yeah.
Winning the turnover battle is always huge, and they've done a pretty good job the last couple of years. Is that a point of emphasis, as a D coordinator always, or what's kind of your philosophy on preaching to the guys, ripping every time they get the ball or going to get that pick or knocking it down? You emphasize that?
Yeah. Are you guys staying for the whole practice?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so hopefully we'll get 2 or 3 turnovers today. Okay. What we call is ball is king. Soon as we get a turnover, you'll know because everybody on defense says, that's 1.
Nice.
And then we get 2, that's 2. We try to get at least 3 a day, and that's our goal. And if we don't, we pay the piper.
What's the piper?
You can't tell.
Oh, man, I love it.
So, Coach, you're from West Covina, California, correct? Are you a Raider fan?
No.
No? Okay.
Well, so I'm a little older than you guys. And my mom, she worked on Vermont and Jefferson, which is across the street where USC used to practice.
Oh, okay.
So I went to spring practice one day, and the receiver just got drafted. He said, who's your favorite team? I said, the Rams. I'm from LA. He gave me a wristband. He said, I just got drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was Lynn Swann.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, can I ask you, though? I'm a big Raider fan.
Yeah.
You mind if I ask you a Raider question?
Please.
Okay. Well, let me put on my Raider hat.
I'll shoot. All sucky. And he got the Las Vegas one.
Yeah.
He's real.
So you coached Ja'Cory Bennett.
JB's my guy.
Okay, so he's going to be he's listed on the last depth chart that the Raiders released. He's number 1 on the depth chart. I know you're not coaching him anymore, but what's one of the things he's number 1 right behind Jack Jones. Jack Jones is the starter. What are the things that young man can do that you saw that he can bring to an NFL roster to guarantee that spot for him? Maybe what's some of the things that he can improve on, and what does he already do well?
Well, he's fast now. He's probably one of the fastest players between him and Slade, Darius Slade, he's pretty fast. Yeah. So he's one of the fastest collegiate players I've had. He just needs to get flexibility, a little stiff in the hips, probably because he's so fast. Plays the ball well. We beat West Virginia because he covered his man on a hitch, and the inside guy ran a 7. He saw that and he turned and he high pointed. We win the game. So good player, great player. JB's one of my favorite people.
Oh, right on. That's awesome.
Coach, I appreciate it. We taking enough of your time. Looking forward to the defense this fall, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach.
Pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Take care. All right. Uh-oh.
Thanks.
Appreciate you, Stu.
All righty.
Defense coordinator Brian Stewart, he's awesome, man. I've gotten to know him
Good dude,
well over the last couple months, and he knows my JUCO coach, Coach Beam. So there's a lot
okay.
He spent a lot of time on the West Coast, obviously from there, and it was cool to kind of get to know him and see all those relationships.
Well, thanks for letting me sneak in a Raider question.
Of course, dude. I mean, we're big Raider fans, Murph. Well, let's get into the position groups here a little bit. And then they're finishing up practice here pretty soon. We'll get a couple players on, and then we'll end it out. But got to start with the quarterback room. I think when you have a new staff, new coaches, new expectations, building a new culture, having a veteran quarterback and Nick Vadiato coming back is absolutely huge. I mean, this guy had great numbers last year, one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and that was, to be honest, not having much of a run game. So I think what the biggest key for this offense is going to be, especially the quarterback position, can you be able to run the ball efficiently and effectively? Because that's going to open up everything else. And, with the new O-line, Coach talked about it. You got some pieces there. I think, to me, that's the 2 biggest question mark position groups is offensive line and defensive line.
Yeah.
And in any team, it all starts up front, right?
Yeah.
So, but having that veteran leadership in Nick Vadiato, I think is going to be huge. And we've talked about it before. Like, anytime you're learning a new system, like, I don't think people really understand. It's like learning a foreign language.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the concepts, a lot of them are the same. You have a lot of similarities, but the verbiage is different. How the coach wants it ran is different. So interested to see. We've been able to watch it a little bit They seem like they're still moving pretty fast out there with tempo, but Nick's looked good throwing the ball today. And then in any program, you got to have two, especially at the college level, right? Because if number one goes down, you got to have somebody in there that can fill that spot. And Xavier Williams, he's a quarterback that came in from UCF. This guy now, he is super athletic. He can throw it as well. So I feel really good about our quarterback room. I really do.
Fantastic. And who's the new recruit that just is coming in this year? His name's escaping me right now.
You talking about Luther Richardson?
Yes.
He's the kid out of Nashville.
Yes, that's
yeah, and he's. I mean, all these kids can throw it. They've done a good job of recruiting some younger talent, and then getting the transfer in to probably be the backup this year. So it's a pretty well-rounded out room at the quarterback position for the Blue Raiders.
Okay. Is there because with the transfer portal being the way that it is now, what is the stickiness, the retention ability for a young guy like that? Like if he comes in, next year after, whatever, and has a phenomenal year, he's going to have other schools coming for him, chasing him, right?
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean it really is, and that's where part of the big picture that I talk about is the NIL is a component of it now. And MTSU does have an NIL collective. It's called Raiders Rising, and they've been able to do some things with a couple of the players to try and keep the good players that we've had. And that's the key. You have a guy that has a great season. He's going to get calls from other collective, other not people from the universities, but people that are going to be like, hey, I'll give you $100,000, this and that. And it's just having that strong relationship from the coaching standpoint to the player. And then being able to have at least something to offer in the NIL space is, how you keep your top guys at a Group of 5 program.
So I want to ask you too. You mentioned about the running game. Talk to me a little bit about the running backs, especially like Frank Peasant.
Yeah, Frank Pizon, man, this guy's a load.
Oh, Pizon, I'm sorry.
And he was banged up a little bit last year, but glad to see he's healthy coming back. Him and Jaden Creedle are going to be the number 1 and number 2 guys. You got a combination of power in Pizon, and then your more scat back, your speed guy in Creedle. Between them and the offensive line is the key. The offensive line and running backs, if the Blue Raiders can run the ball this year, sky's the limit for them. And that's even if they have some deficiency on defense, because if you can score points, you're going to be in a lot of ball games, right? So, but having veteran leadership at the key positions at the quarterback spot. Pizon's been here a number of years now. You know what you're going to get out of him. You're going to get a hard-nosed guy that can really pound it. He's not going down by one guy. He's going to break arm tackles. He can catch it relatively well out of the backfield and make guys miss. So having that, a loaded room in that regard is huge.
Absolutely. So then going from there, right, what's a quarterback's best friend, right? Is a good running game and then even a tight end, right?
Great tight end.
Talk to me a little bit about what our tight ends are looking like.
Yeah, I mean, you get Holden Willis back, number 83.
He's a stud, man.
He was the second leading receiver. That was a good ball right there. Second leading receiver on the team last year. He's back. So that's going to be key. And having a nice security blanket like that for a quarterback, I mean, that's your best friend. A big target who can body up a DB. He's stronger than a DB. He's faster, more athletic than a linebacker. So I expect a big year out of Holden Willis because outside of him, it's going to be all new faces pretty much coming in with the wide receiver. You get 3 transfers coming in. There's a few faces that names we'll recognize from last year. They got some times, but Amari Kelly, transfer from Auburn's coming in. Gamarian Carter is a transfer from Vanderbilt. And Kellen Stewart's a transfer from Austin Peay. Those 3 guys, I think, are going to get the lion's shares of the receptions. And they're going to they're bigger than we've had in years past. Which I think is another big, advantage that we're going to have. So you got your tight end in Willis. You got those 3 guys on the outside. And I keep going back to the run game. If you can run the ball effectively, it forces the defense to bring that guy in the box. And now you get your one-on-one matchups on the outside. That's where the guys like Holden Willis one-on-one against the linebacker, or Kelly against a corner on the outside where he can go by him and jump up and make that 50-50 catch on a go route. Mm-hmm. So excited about this new group of wide receivers.
And they got less speed there too.
Yeah, they do. It's a good blend of a little bit longer on the outside at some spots. And then, we've always had, the Jalen Lanes of the world, inside slot guys that can catch it 5 yards and take it 90. But I like the way that This receiving core has shaped up, and with Cornelius Williams, the receivers coach, he's a young receiving coach out of. He played his ball at Troy, actually played against us a few years back.
What's up?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great.
Good.
And he did a great job at coaching these guys up, and just excited about this receiving core group. And then let's change gears a little bit to the defensive side of the ball. Middle Tennessee in years past has done a good job at, getting turnovers, getting pressure on the quarterback. We talked about that a little bit with Brian and with Coach Mason. This D-line group is the biggest question mark on defense for me.
Yeah.
And as Raider fans, we know when you're able to get after the quarterback like a Max Crosby or Malcolm Kuntz, it makes everybody's job easier.
Absolutely.
So if we can, we got a transfer coming in from South Carolina. He mentioned it. Felix Hickson, he's 6'3", 300 pounds. Jeez. I mean, that's a big boy in the middle there to clog it up. And then you get DeMonte Smith. He had some time last year on the inside. Those two guys will probably anchor the interior D-line. And then, you get James Stewart and Brandon Buckner on the outside. Buckner, he's a Oregon transfer.
Okay.
He played a little bit last year. But those are the guys that I think need to really step up and be able to get around those edges, because you got some of the top quarterbacks in the group of five in Conference USA.
Absolutely. So, and then with being able to generate that kind of pressure, it helps your secondary out so much, right? Because the guys don't have to cover as long, so you get a reduction in penalties. It just helps the overall health of your secondary, getting that kind of pressure. We talked a little bit about it with both coaches already about the importance of defensive back play, and that's their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Like, I think that we're going to see a really improved group coming in this year playing in the secondary.
No, I agree. And you get Brandon Harris, transfer from Wake Forest, coming in. He was with Mason while he was at Vanderbilt early in his career, so you get some familiarity there, which I think will help. Building that culture, help being a leader in the secondary for those guys. But like you said, getting pressure up front is the key. Because when you can accelerate the quarterback's clock, he has to throw it, a second before he wants to. He has to move around. You change the launch point. It changes everything for a quarterback, and they will make mistakes. And that's when you get the pass deflections. That's where you get turnovers and interceptions. So I think it comes down to both offensively and defensively, the line, offensive line, defensive line, and then secondary as well. McDonald's back, who he saw a lot of snaps last year on the outside at corner. So really looking for him to have a big year in the secondary, because there's some talented wide receivers in this conference.
Yeah, and quarterbacks too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're going up against Liberty, like we said, I highlighted that game. I mean, you got to keep that guy contained. I really think that he's such a dual threat quarterback. He can throw it on the run. They'll run some triple option stuff or to get him on the outside and allow him to make decisions to pitch it or keep it. And I think you beat him by trying to keep him in the pocket as best you can, making him throw, because he likes to get outside. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you, what do you do, schematically as a defense to be able to account for that? Is it something as simple as spying the guy, or just trying to contain edges, or what is the approach there?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can dedicate a spy to a quarterback like Salter or like TJ Finley at Western Kentucky, but problem is now you take a guy out of coverage.
Yeah.
And you're dedicating guys solely to him, which is important. But I think the best way you can do it is if you can get pressure with your front four, it allows you 7 guys in the back end to play coverage. And if you take your Mike linebacker and spy the quarterback, now you can play 6 in coverage on their 5, and you got the spy in the middle in case he tries to leak out. So I think you try that to start, and it depends on who you got. At that point in the season, we'll know who we got on the D-line, if those guys can win in one-on-one situations. And if they're able to do that, then great. You let those guys go eat, you let them go hunt and see what you can do. And then if you can't, then you got to try and bring some pressure from your linebackers, maybe bring a corner blitz or a safety down in the box to kind of help out with that. And I think the biggest thing too is for defenses is, from a quarterback standpoint, is don't give me a clean look. Like, if I know what you're in, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to beat you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, make the pre-snap and post-snap looks different, change them up, do a good job at disguising your coverage and making them think, because if they got to think a little bit more, heck, they might be a second late on the throw. Now you can get a hand in there. Or if you're beat, you can recover. So I think defensively, excited to see what Brian Stewart has to bring. This style of defense, and it's gonna be fun over here watching. They're going team right now, 11-on-11. But anything you're looking for this year, Murph?
Play-by-play there, Murphy.
Oh, I wish. I was a color guy. I didn't do the play-by-play. I didn't do the heavy lifting. As Sprouse says for this show, I had my good friend Chip Walters doing play-by-play for me when I did radio. Nice ball. There was Xavier Williams right there throwing a nice ball out there. Yeah, Murphy.
You're like the guy in Anchorman. Whammy! You're the whammy guy. But special teams, I guess that's probably the last position group we could cover.
Yeah, I mean, Zeke Rankin, and we talked about it. He's having an asset like that in the kicking game. He's pretty much automatic. I mean, you get him 35 and in.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be able to knock it through it. Interested to hear Luke, though, says that this is probably the first time in a while he's been kind of pushed and challenged in that room.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to hear from him. I'm not sure who he was referring to in that group, but Zeke's automatic.
Yeah, I mean, Zeke was crushing him out here earlier. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he's been here. I feel like it's a seventh year. Like he's a seventh-year senior. But no, Zeke's awesome. He's a big supporter and fan of the show, and looking forward to a great season for him.
Good deal. But yeah, I'm fired up. I'm excited for this team. Excited for this year. Just like it's hard not to talk about what's going on over here with the construction and the facilities coming up. Again, as being somebody that's lived in this community for as long as I have, it's just so nice to see that, like, not only is that going up, but that we're starting to see the community start to build up around this football program that desperately needs it. That even because I think back to the days back in the early 2000s when we had some absolute great teams, and amazing players that came through. Yeah. That's DeJuan Hicks's helmet right there. I mean, that guy was on a short list of Heisman talk going into the season. But even back then, during those times, we didn't see the amount of community involvement. And now with this community growing, which is the other thing, we got explosive growth going on here, not only in Middle Tennessee, but in Murfreesboro particularly. And so we have all these new residents coming in that are going to want a football team to root for. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about it. Rutherford County is one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. And, you're going to get a lot of folks in here that may be fans of other programs, other schools, but it's getting them in the stadium, having them come out to a practice, getting them engaged and showing them you can have a really good time here at Middle Tennessee going to a game. And I think that's going to be huge, trying to, reinvigorate and grow the fan base. Because like you said, you got the investment now in the facilities. Seems like they're going to do some investment in the pregame, tailgate, in-game atmosphere type stuff. And then it comes down to producing on the field. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, winning ball games covers up a lot of deficiencies in other areas. Now, in a perfect world, you hope you wouldn't have to, but we don't live in a perfect world, right? So, getting these guys out on the field here in a couple weeks and winning ball games is how you grow excitement and continue to grow your fan base. And I think they've done a good job so far this offseason and engaging the community.
Absolutely.
Practice is finishing up here.
We having players over?
Yeah. We're going to try and get a couple players on. I'm not sure how much longer they're going to go. But what we may end up doing is just recording those.
Okay.
And drop them later. Yeah, we'll just do that.
Okay.
Everyone getting short on time here. But as we finish this live stream, just want to give another thanks to our sponsor today, the Boulevard Bar and Grill. If you're in town looking for a good lunch or a good dinner any day of the week, go check out the Boulevard Bar and Grill on Middle Tennessee Boulevard. If you're coming in for a game, whatever you need, they got it. Cold beverages, great apps, great food. Go check them out. And appreciate Jeff over at the Boulevard sponsoring us up and making that happen. And Murph, just want to appreciate you, man. Appreciate you coming out and in substitute of the normal main host and co-host.
Oh man, no way I could ever fill those shoes.
They're big shoes.
Or fill big shoes, and you know, you guys do such an amazing job with your show, and you and Sprouse and Tip, and the job that you guys do with the Group of Five guys is absolutely awesome. And you know, for somebody that's a fan of this football team, seeing you guys not only represent Middle Tennessee but also all the rest of the Group of Five, like, it's made me a bigger fan. Like, it's made me appreciate that level of college football so much more just because of your guys' show. I mean, I never would have been invested into, like, you know, what Liberty's doing, or like, I would have never been in that because I just didn't have that connection that you guys do. But with you sharing your connection to the Group of Five, it brings the rest of us in with you. So I can't compliment you guys enough for what you do. And thanks, Sprouse, for letting me give me the spot over here, you know. But I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
No, appreciate you, Murph. And also want to give a shout out to our producers today, Ben and Jack. Appreciate you guys, man, helping us out, making this happen. And then appreciate Middle Tennessee having us out, allowing us to come do this. And it's been awesome getting to talk to the coaches, watching practice, seeing these guys, and we'll interview a couple players here and we'll post those on the socials. But if you like what you see, check us out on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys. We live stream every week. We'll be live again tonight at 7 p.m. Central, talking best offensive line, defensive line in the Group of Five. And hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and appreciate you guys. Check us out, Group of Five Guys. We're out of here.